What's up, guys? Brian here, and marriage rates are at a 150-year low. So basically, there was a study done at Cornell, and I want you to see this video before we start the talk.
This is the Ivy League version of I Don't Want No Scrubs.
Oh,
This is a real study that was done through Cornell University that said a shortage of economically attractive men. There's not enough men who are economically attractive. That
Economically attractive. Let's keep going.
may be one of the reasons why marriage is on the decline. Now, marriage is at its lowest
U.S. marriages in 2018, lowest rate in 150 years. I wonder why that is.
in about 150 years in America, the marriage rate. Now, what do they mean by economically unattractive? They said it's somebody who either doesn't have a bachelor's degree, so that's prospects, or a stable job making $40,000 a year or more. They said one reason might be education. The lead author said, this is a rough quote, "Many young men today have little to bring to the marriage bargain." And he talked about how women are going to school more because they want to, bring more to the table to get better jobs. I'll say this. This is your sort of piece of money advice. And this doesn't just come from me. It comes from Warren Buffett. He says that the biggest... I'll say this. This is your sort of piece of money advice. And this
Okay,
does
let's
more
back
to the
up here,
table to
guys.
get better jobs.
Okay, so basically, many young men today have little to bring to the marriage bargain, especially as young women's educational levels on average now exceed their male suitors. Well, 2/3 of student debt is actually held by females. So maybe it's the other way around, guys. And then another thing, too, obviously, guys are waking up from the blue-pilled matrix. They're not as apt to get married. You're seeing so many divorces around you that people are a little bit shy of getting married because they see so many of their friends getting divorced, raped, ending up in these custody battles and all this kind of stuff. And so why would you want this woman's debt? 2/3 of student debt is held by women. So let's just say there's two people getting together and okay, yeah, great, she has a master's degree, but she has $60,000 worth of student loan debt. And we've seen it over and over again where two people get together and then even the guy maybe is jointly helping her pay it off or paying it off altogether, and then she leaves him. So that's not really something a lot of guys who are woke or, red pill woke up, or that they're going to really go for. So I just think it's an interesting study that we're at 150-year low, but in the fact that it's the guys who aren't bringing anything to the table, you got to question that. You got to question it because it's like, why would a guy get married? Well, unless you're going to have kids, I don't really think that you should get married unless you're thinking that you're going to have kids with that woman. And you're really going to have to vet her. You're going to have to spend 2 to 3 years vetting her, gold digger testing her over and over and over again. You're going to have to see her through many menstrual cycles to see how psycho is she going to act. Is she just going to flip out and be a complete psychopath in training? Or is she going to, you're going to have to go on some trips with her as well. Vacations are a great way to vet if she's a legitimate psychopath, a psychopath in training, or if she's actually somewhat normal. This is what I, suggest to men. Also, if you're in the early stages of dating, and a lot of these women, they don't want to get married, but it's hard for women and men to date now, partially because their time window is being narrowed down. Let's say a woman does go and she gets her master's degree, and let's say she finishes when she's 25. Well, peak fertility is when she's 28. So even if you snagged her right when she gets done with her master's degree and she's out of school and she's working a job, it's you're only going to have a few years. You're going to want to vet her, all this kind of stuff, and you have a very, very short window at that point. And then if she's gets out and she's really focused on her career, and we've heard this over and over again when you try to ask a girl out on a date, oh, I have work tomorrow, I'm tired, blah, 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 excuse city, excuse city. Guys rally, women make excuses. And so they excuse themselves out of even kind of going down a logical path of people dating and stuff like that. And then they wonder, well, why are we not, jumping in there and basically taking them in on nice dinners and all this kind of stuff like that? Well, because there's been other studies that say 1/3 of women will just go on dates for meals. You don't want to feed these women. You don't want to take her on a dinner date the first date typically, and even the second date. You almost have to get in a situation where you're not spending any kind of money, and it progresses along, and actually you guys are hanging out, and it's pretty cool and stuff like that. Then maybe over time you're going to actually treat her nicer as time goes on. Whereas women will often treat you nicest at the beginning, and then it'll get worse. So, I mean, really when it boils down to it, guys are waking up to the whole marriage thing. They're seeing, they're able to talk to other guys on Reddit. They're able to talk to their friends who have gotten divorced. They're seeing stuff out on YouTube and all this, and they're just kind of like, I better tread lightly. You're really going to have to vet these women. I know there's some people jumping into these starter marriages, and and it's almost like they expect to get divorced 2 and 3 times. When you get into the second marriage, third marriage kind of stuff, the divorce rates even go up higher. And so if a woman has been married before, especially if she has kids, if you don't have kids and you're a single guy, you might as well just get out of there, guys. And I mean, it's just, and I know why you want to stick, because she's hot. But in the end, you're setting yourself up for problems. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to be best off focusing your efforts on a chick who's in her early to mid 20s, for someone, if you're looking to have kids, who's single, never been married, and doesn't have any kids. So again, this study likely, and I have not dug into the study, but it's probably not really pointing towards these women. What are they bringing to the table? Are they 50 pounds overweight? The average height of a woman in the United States is 5'4", but the average weight is 168 pounds. And these aren't swole mates, guys. These are not bootylicious swole mates who are doing squats and step ups. A lot of them are just overweight. They're just lazy. They're overweight. They nag all the time, and they want the guy to do everything. Like, and then here's another thing that's annoying, and it's a little bit off subject, but when I'm seeing it commonly, let's say these educated women who have maybe a bachelor's degree or master's degree, they get into a job and they're like, I have a career. And it's not like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. And it's just like, oh, okay, cool. It's they really act as if they're something super special because they have a job. Like, I have a career. That's the way they say it. It's with almost like they're looking down upon you, like that they're
I'll say this. This is your.
Sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean to push that play button again, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Where these women are acting like that they're what's typically a job. Most people, and this goes for men and women, most of the time when somebody has, a job, they almost act like it's more important than it is. That, oh, they have this career and all this stuff. Well, for now, I mean, you're working there, and that's fine. That's great. You're going to work, you're working on that and stuff like that, but they're shelving their fertility, for these corporations a lot of times, and they think that there's going to be this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, when in reality, they're losing sexual marketplace value over time, because if they get into, 33, 34, 35, 37, 38, whatever, and they don't have kids, and they're still looking to have kids, then they're having to do all these medical procedures potentially to have kids, because your fertility, from your peak fertility when you're 28 to when a woman is 35, the fertility can drop by 70%. These are just statistics, guys. These are just facts. And really with these marriages, 80% of the time, it's the woman who's initiating the divorce. So turning it back on the men, oh, they're not economically attractive. Well, if the woman wasn't such like a gold digger and expecting men to, be 6 foot, have a 6-pack, make over 100,000, all this kind of stuff, you're expecting the man to do everything and go so far and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times, to be honest with you, these women are just delusional. They'll literally be a 4 out of 10 and they think they belong with a 9 out of 10. And we've seen that over and over again whether it's in person, in person game, or it's on the apps, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, that kind of thing. Just a lot of these women are just delusional, and they don't realize that there's a separation between a man's sexual marketplace value and a woman's. They actually think, and I've even had women that act like, well, you've never been married? Like, oh, there's something wrong with you. And it's like, something wrong with me. And they try to equate, like, if we're at the same age or something like that, then I'm behind and almost like they're ahead and they're more valuable or something. And then they're a single mom with 2 kids by 2 different men. And it's just like, just delusional, guys. So anyway, what do you guys think about this study? Do you think you're economically attractive to women? Another thing, too, you got to gold digger test these women. A lot of times, I don't let them see my car. I don't try to talk about what I do. And that's one of the first questions. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And that's so annoying to guys, the way these women act. And they're always trying to means test you by asking you what you do, like right off the bat. And it's just ridiculous. Another thing, a lot of these women can't discern between somebody who's making payments on everything. Maybe they're making payments on their car, they're upside down on a house, they're making all these payments. They can't discern from that, or like if a person has a rented lifestyle, they're leasing a car, they're renting a luxury apartment, versus the guy who's actually more frugal, has saved a lot of money, has investments, doesn't make payments on his car. I've never made payments on a car, guys, and I don't drive brand new cars because of the depreciation curve. I've never made payments on a car, but maybe that's good enough for these girls. I'm not economically attractive. I make these girls think I'm broke. And that's what you should do too, because at the end of the day, if she doesn't like you for your personality and your wit and your charm and your jokes, it ain't going to work out in the long term anyway. So keep gold digger testing them. And if you really want to find out what your girlfriend thinks you, tell her you lost your job. See what she says, and keep it up for a week. Keep it up for at least 3 or 4 days. See what she does. But anyway, guys, leave a comment below. What do you think about this? Do you think you're economically attracted to these gold diggers? Anyway, guys, see you later.